Hello, my name is Craig Mellon. This is my entry for Module 12 on tort liability. First of all, what is tort liability? So a tort is a wrong committed by one person against another. That can include injury, assault, battery, false imprisonment, defamation. Those are what we call intentional torts. You mean to cause harm to someone. And then negligence is an example of an unintentional tort, where someone is wronged due to your lack of action. Educators must make sure that we are guiding our actions with common sense, that we're thinking through our duties, our responsibilities, and making sure that through those actions we're keeping students safe. So the first case I want to talk about is Hoyam versus Manhattan Beach City School District. So this happened when a student left school. This was during summer school and was struck by a motorcycle. He was injured at the hospital. When his mom realized what had happened, she suffered distress, and the parent and the child claimed negligence against the school. I'll move my face so you can see me. There you go. So this incident was caused because the school did not know the student had left. The student left and nobody knew where they were at. So in my district, following this incident, we would make sure teachers were trained on safely keeping students on school property and what to do if a student does leave the school premises without permission. To proactively prevent something like this, I would make sure that teachers understand the procedure of what to do if a student tries or does leave school without permission, who to get in touch with, and how to handle that situation. And then professional ethics would make sure that the staff realize and act when a student leaves the school, instead of, one, not noticing the student had left in the first place, or two, not doing anything about a student who has left. The second case I'd like to discuss is Johnson Johnson versus School District of Millard. In this, student was hurt while playing London Bridge, the childhood song and game, London Bridge, in music class. This was the first time these students had done this song, done this game. The teacher introduced the song, talked about not playing too rough, and then let the students play the game. The music was on, and the teacher had turned their back, either writing on the blackboard or helping another student, depending on which witness you listen to. The first student, who was sort of in the middle of this game, ended up being thrown across the room, hitting a bookshelf, and having his eye cut deeply enough where it went down to the bone and had to get 50 stitches. Following this incident, if this were happening in my district, we would make sure that teachers aren't implementing activities that could cause harm unnecessarily. And if there's an activity going on that's educationally valid, making sure that it is happening in a safe way. To proactively prevent something like this from happening, I would make sure teachers understand the importance of understanding the risks involved. So whether it's something like this in music class where there's physical activity going on, PE class where there could be all kinds of different things going on, a science room, any other classroom, making sure the teachers understand the risk taking place in whatever activity it is, and to make sure that the teacher, if they are using the activity that involves some sort of risk to the students, make sure that you're always cautious, you're always monitoring student activity, and that way you can help if something does go wrong. So professional ethics would make sure that the teacher is closely monitoring those students, not letting that activity take place while their attention is somewhere else. Okay, my third court case that I want to look at is Brahatek versus the Millard School District. I believe this is the same school district as the previous one in Nebraska. So this was from the 70s, and there was a mandatory district PE unit on golf. And so this incident happened on the second day of that unit, and the student who was injured and ended up dying was absent the first day when they talked about technique of swinging a golf club and safety and these activities. And not to mention that due to weather, this lesson was taking place indoors in a gym, so in a much more confined area. And so the student was watching another student kind of help him learn how to swing the golf club. And after a couple practice swings, the student watching stepped too close and was struck in the head by the golf club, was taken to the hospital and later died. The lesson that was taking place in the gym was not set up to district guidelines. So the district had a specific lesson set on how to set up this indoor activity, and that activity was not set up that same way. So the gym teacher and the student teacher that was there with them were held liable for negligence in not following the district guidelines. So if a similar incident like this happened in my district or my school, again, we'd make sure that we would understand, here's the district procedure, you need to follow this, one, for your own protection if an incident like this happens, but two, for student safety. And also I could easily see if this happened in my district, if there was, which we don't have, a mandatory golf lesson, I could definitely see that being removed. So to proactively avoid a situation like this, I think PE classes inherently have certain dangers and certain risks involved. So it's important that the PE teachers understand how important the safety is and how important monitoring is in their classroom. And if a student is absent today, misses instructions or misses safety techniques, that needs to be covered with them. And I think in my district, we have a large ropes course. And our PE teachers do a very good job of making sure every student is trained and certified before going on that equipment. Professional ethics would have the teacher follow district guidelines, right? This lesson was specifically written out how it should take place in the gym, and that was not followed. And the activity was not being properly monitored. So professional ethics would make sure that those two things happened. Case number 4, Donna Andriozzi and Nicholas Andriozzi versus the town of East Haven. This happened on the cross-country team. So the coach and the school were sued for negligence. Cross-country runner was running and had hit a bench which had been placed in the first lane of the track. They fell and broke a bone in their wrist. So following this, the parents, like I said, sued the school and the coach. They were later found not to be liable due to the fact that the cross-country team was extracurricular. It was optional. But we still want to make sure that we're doing all we can to avoid injuries and to help students. So if this happened, I think in my school, our athletic directors would make sure that the coaches understand you're responsible for checking your area where your sports takes place, the field, the gym, whatever it is, making sure your equipment is safe. And I would proactively do that before every season. Have the coaches and if I were the activities or athletic director, do the same. Check the equipment, check the area, make sure that there are no safety hazards or no equipment that needs to be repaired or replaced. Again, professional ethics would have made sure the coach knew that there was this hazard on the track and make sure that that was removed prior to practice. And my final case is Morgan versus Great Falls School District number 1. And this is a case where there was a special education student, low functioning, who had just had brain surgery. While the student, or recently after the surgery, the student came back to school, and there was this particular day a substitute in the classroom. During recess, the student had climbed to an area where the daily teacher, the normal teacher, did not let her students play. Was sliding down a sliding pole, and a couple feet off the ground fell and broke a bone in her leg. The parents, there was a form available where the parents can sign saying, I don't want my child on this particular piece of equipment. The parents in this case had not signed that form, but the daily teacher, just in general, did not let the students play on that piece of equipment. The incident, like I said, led to a broken bone. And if an incident like that happened in my school, we would make sure that our playground policy or a playground policy exists to make sure that students understand the equipment, that they're being monitored, that parents have a way to say, I don't want my student on this piece of equipment, or if there's a physical or a reason why a certain student is unsafe on a piece of equipment, that is being monitored. To proactively prevent something like this from happening, I would make sure that our special education teachers, our aides, our paras, anybody who works with those kids understand that there's an extra level of support necessary, especially on an playground or an area with risk of injury involved, that we make sure those students are monitored closely. And I think in this situation, reading through the case, professional ethics would have had additional monitors out there at recess. Not only was the special education class at recess, but over 100 other students were at recess as well. And it would have been very difficult to monitor every student and every piece of equipment at once. This is my reference list for my information and for my court cases. So I hope this video on tort liability in schools provided some information on this topic. Thank you.